Well, it's good to be back here on Better Than Before, and I'm super excited today. One of the great things about doing this podcast is I'm able to connect with some of my really close friends that are around the country that are doing such great work. And today I've got the president of SmartChic, Cynthia Bazin, who provides keynote motivational speaking and premier mentoring in the areas of personal development, business strategy, and branding. And her expertise is to get people laser focused on their personal and professional goals and provide them with kick-butt motivation and smart strategies so they can take action and achieve their goals and dreams. Cynthia's in 4 books. She's co-authored 3 and was honored to be one of 100 women from around the world interviewed for the now international bestseller Common Threads Empowerment. And Cynthia has been recognized by Success Magazine and is on their website as a blog contributor. She live streams at least twice a day on social media, and she's been designated VIP status on Periscope. I want to talk to her about this because now she has over 32 million hearts, and she's also a regular contributor to the Good Day Sacramento news program. Informally, I call you Cindy. Is that okay, or do you want me to call you Cynthia?
That is perfectly okay, Tony. I'm honored to be here.
Goodness gracious. I'm tired reading that biography. You must be exhausted.
Exhausted, so tired. No, I'm only kidding. I'm loving
great.
it. I'm loving it. But thank you again so much, Tony. We've been connected for a long time, so it's great to finally do this with you.
You bet. And I love your whole thing. I want to ask you about the SmartChic thing and all that kind of stuff. But how did you get started mentoring and coaching people?
I think for a lot of us, it starts when we are kids. And, talking with a lot of people from way back is that, people have told me even as a kid, I was kind of that person that was level-headed and always kind of giving advice to people and being like a sounding board. So as a kid, I guess I was that kind of person that people would come to for advice and kind of be able to listen to people really good. But it started way back, Tony. I went to school my undergrad is in psychology and criminal justice, and my master's degree is in counseling psychology. So I've had that background since the beginning of time. So that's where it all kind of got started, and have utilized it through my entire career with all the different types of jobs and things that I've done.
Well, there's no doubt why you're in my life. I need as many level-headed people as I can get. I'm glad you're one of them. Now, one of the more interesting things about you that I wanted to touch on is this whole role you played in your career as an investigator, and you worked in casinos in Las Vegas for a long time. So tell everybody about that.
Fascinating. It was such a great time in my life, and I still do it for companies from time to time. Started off in the prison system in Connecticut for over a decade, then did investigations for Sprint for a long time, and then jumped in the casino work and PI work and that sort of thing. So that was kind of my track. Again, starting off in college, was looking to do something really interesting with my life and had the psychology background. And thankfully, a mentor said, you know what, you should mix that psychology background with something else. And so I took a couple criminal justice courses and was just so fascinated by the whole thing, and did a internship in my senior year in college at a maximum security prison and also at a juvenile detention center. And I loved the energy. I loved the type of work of something new each and every day, and was hooked. And so right after college, went right into security and investigations in the prison system in Connecticut, and 22 years, in process, that's what I did for a very, very long time. And I would have to say it was some of the most fun I had, the most interesting, and probably the greatest life lessons I learned working in those type of environments.
When we first met, you had already developed the SmartChic brand, and you were really using that a lot on Twitter and other places. But since then, you've added laser-focused mentor, and I just love that. How did you come up with that?
Thank you. It is as a result of my 22 years in investigations and security, because in my role, Tony, was that I probably interviewed thousands of people in wrongdoing. That was kind of my role, was the interrogator, the investigator, kind of the closer, the person that would talk to the person that did something wrong. But I would go beyond that, because yeah, that's great that you get somebody to admit to wrongdoing. But I, with my psychology background, I always wanted to understand why. I totally believe this, that nobody is born wanting to be a criminal, wanting to go down the wrong path. And in talking with these men and women that were young, and I've interviewed people and put people in jail that were as old as 80 something years old, is that clearly the thing that has come out throughout the years is that they strayed off the wrong path. And so interview after interview after interview, I would think of that. And it's like, okay, you've strayed off the wrong path. And a lot of people think it's over once they have, me interview them. And sometimes they have to pay their dues for the stuff that they've done. And I was like, no, you know what? Your life isn't over. It's just begun. But somehow you need to get back focused and you need to shut out that noise and stay laser focused on the right thing. So it was as a result of my investigation background, because it's so easy to stray off the wrong path, with all the noise that's out there with social media, people trying to get you to do certain things. So I'm super passionate about people really keeping their eyes open to opportunities. But when it comes to their goals, you really got to shut the world down sometimes and just focus in on you. So that's how it came about.
All of us coaches and speakers, we watch each other do our work on our platforms and things like that. You have such a great diligence around your social media, and you got all this great following. To me, when you're on Periscope, to me, that's real work. And you do that a couple of times a day. And you've got that thing up to 32 million hearts, which means 32 million people love what you're doing on Periscope. And I get on Periscope every now and then just to participate in your session. And I've tried it a couple times and I just can't maintain the diligence to do it, but you've done it. How did you do all that?
Well, I've been doing Periscope for almost 2.5 years now. And it's kind of interesting, Tony. It's actually up to 43 million hearts, which is just amazing. And what that actually means is people have tapped that screen over 43 million times, which basically it's saying that it's resonating with people, my message and that sort of thing. So I would say in short is that it really feels like home to me, because I love doing video. I love interacting and I love engagement, so I'm not really scared of that. I love to have challenging questions. I love to see different people's comments and address them. So the thing that I believe and that I teach people as far as social media goes is the engagement factor, is that I really think that engagement and consistency has probably been the most important things for me to build that following, which I consider a social media family. I do it at least 5 times a week, twice a day, very consistent message. So I'm not on there one day, ranting and raving about something, and then the next day trying to be cool, calm, collective. Is that people have come to expect a certain message, a certain vibe, certain things I control in the broadcast. So the people that really enjoy it, have come back because they know what they're going to get.
And I know you well enough to know that that really comes from your heart and the drive that you have to help people. And not only are you on social media, but you're on traditional media too. So you're on television in the Sacramento market, right? What do you do there?
Correct. So I've been doing that for over 2 years now, and I've committed to once a month, which works for me. It's just absolutely great. And again, it's just something that I really love to do. It's great for branding. I always tell people, I recommend, if you're trying to get yourself out there, that traditional television stuff is really good. So in the Sacramento market on Good Day Sacramento, talk about all different types of personal development subjects, hot topics that can resonate with both men and women. And it kind of goes with the flow of what I do, bullet pointed tips, things simple but powerful tips that you can really apply to your life immediately. I don't like to try to, make things too complicated. I like to break things down. So that message is, really taken off, and I really appreciate that opportunity. It's a lot of fun.
That's cool. Let's switch this conversation and direct it a little bit more toward the people that you're helping on a daily basis. So what's the most common problem you see when your potential clients come to you to have them get help?
Well, a lot of times people come to me because they're not reaching the level of success, that they really want. But the theme that comes out, and again, it has to do with that whole laser focus thing, is that typically they're not getting the success that they want because I feel that it's the overwhelm that comes in. So I think that the most common problem that I see when potential clients come to me is that they're overwhelmed, that they're not getting the success that they want because of the fact that they've either got too much on their plate or they're not focused on the right thing, is that they're trying to juggle too many things. And I think we all can relate to that at one point or another, Tony, that we're so busy and we're trying to juggle different things and we're really not mastering certain things. We're just kind of like doing things and, things don't really take off. So, the things that I really try to help people do is identify really what they're looking to do, what their expertise is, and then kind of eliminate a lot of that overwhelm. And then all of a sudden they start seeing things shift.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, we live in an age today where it's so easy to get overwhelmed because there's just so much that's available to you on an easy basis, right?
Right. And going back to the whole Periscope thing in social media is that also people feel like they have to do everything and they have to be everywhere. And that's just not possible. So, part of it is that don't worry what the other guy and what the other gal is doing, and that it's impossible for you to be everywhere. Find a few things that you're really good at, that you love to do, and dominate those things. And you're going to see that shift happen.
What's a really interesting issue or a really difficult issue that you've helped somebody with?
I think one of the things that is so difficult sometimes to change in people, Tony, that, sometimes it's consistent mentoring and reminders, is that people are trying to a lot of times please other people, and they're not living their life for their own life, is that they're trying to create a success based on what other people are, telling them success is, or that they're trying to please somebody else. So I think that one of the most difficult things that I help clients with is really figuring out, what do you want to do? And, not worry about what your parents are saying, what your spouse is saying. I mean, we want everybody to be happy, but the thing is that once you identify what really is going to make you happy and you shut out that noise and stop living your life for other people, that's when true happiness and success happens, when you really stop caring so much about what other people think.
I had a client once who's extremely successful professional in a professional services industry, and he was doing it because that's what his dad always wanted him to do.
Oh, yeah. That happens all the time. And so, yeah, and people get into careers because, so-and-so thought it would be good for them, and then they stay in that career forever, and they're just not that happy. So, yeah, to get them out of that mindset that in the end, doesn't matter what everybody else thinks. You got to do what you want to do. So that takes a lot of, as one of my friends, Shelley Harris says, reprogramming. It takes a lot when you have been, over and over told certain things or expected to do certain things. So that's probably one of the most difficult things, is changing people's mindset to think a little bit differently.
And what's interesting is a lot of those people, at least it's been my observation, that a lot of those people are doing what they really wanted to do as a hobby.
Yes.
And they're not doing it as a real career or as their primary thing. And if they had their druthers, they'd switch and do their hobby for the real thing.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. You're so right.
I'm glad you mentioned mindset, because I was going to ask you about that, because I know you write about that a lot. You speak about that a lot. What kind of advice do you have for people who might need to change their mindset? How do you change a mindset?
There's a lot of things that I say that, you have to do on a daily basis, because people that have trouble with mindset, and we all have trouble with it at sometimes, but being really focused in on it right at the start of the morning. And sometimes stopping yourself through the day and checking yourself, because things creep in all the time. So the first thing, people with mindset is looking around them to see who's in their inner circle. A lot of times people with bad mindset have people in their life with terrible mindset, toxic, negative people, Debbie Downers, whatever you want to call them, people that are not supporting them. So sometimes you got to create some great boundaries, sometimes with people in your own family. So eliminating the ridiculous, that's what I call it, like eliminating those toxic, negative people. Other things is, then surrounding yourself. If you want a greater mindset, you got to be around people that have an amazing mindset. So people that are at the same level of you, or someone who's, higher level than you, someone who's going to inspire you to kind of as I say, another phrase, kick you in the duff to kind of let you know that to go for it and believe in yourself. And then another thing, every single day, I fuel myself with something that's inspirational. Some people journal, some people read books. I love listening to short, podcasts, tips of inspiration, magazine articles, whatever's going to work for you to fuel you with inspiration. You've got to do that as well.
Yeah, I've taught my clients for years that emotions are very contagious. You can catch an emotion just like you can catch a cold.
Mm-hmm.
And just to your point, and also it's very difficult to watch one of your Periscope casts or watch one of your videos or watch you on Facebook or whatever and not want to take action. I mean, because you are very contagious in that way because you focus on taking action so much. You mentioned a couple of things just right there. Is there anything else that you would advise people to do as far as taking action every day?
One of the things I've really been talking about more because it was really a shift in my life. I mean, when we all start business, it's not all peaches and roses and perfect. I mean, I used to be that person that was on all types of boards and busy versus productive. So one of the things that has really shifted my business was less is more. So really whittling down and getting rid of the stuff that really isn't aligned with your goals or that's taking up too much time, and less services, less programs, and kind of mastering them and that sort of thing. So really having people take a look at what they're involved with and remembering that busy doesn't mean productive. And then taking action, I always talk about critical stuff versus priorities. One of the things that people bring up to me all the time, Tony, is that everything's a priority. I don't have time to do everything in my day. And I said, you know what? Not everything is a priority that needs to be done first. I always say that there's two things that will shut you down: your health, and if you don't have money. So, you really got to take care of yourself as much as you can, or you're going to be paying for it later. And the second thing is that you got to focus in on what's going to bring you in money. All this other fun stuff going on Facebook, sometimes checking out my Periscopes. I'm like, listen, if you haven't done the two things that we talk about, come on the replay later. Put the fun things later. Get your stuff that's critical done first.
That's awesome. Focus comes from elimination, not addition. I don't know if it's just the day and time we live in or it's the societal things that we've been exposed to, but we think more is better.
Right.
And a lot of times that's not true. Sometimes it's less is more.
That's exactly what I have. That's one of my greatest learning lessons is that, less is more, because you're able to focus more on your expertise and, being able to block out of that other stuff. So you're not as exhausted. Being in business is a lot of work. You know what I mean? So you've got to try to have as much energy as possible.
What are some of the struggles you see with your clients as far as communication goes?
One of the things people come to me about is about the broadcast on Good Day Sacramento, on live streaming, speaking, and that sort of thing. And I think people struggle a lot with just being themselves. And I remember way back, Tony Robbins was my initial motivational guru that I looked up to. And starting as a speaker, you look at somebody and you say, I want to be like him, right? But that doesn't work because I can't be Tony Robbins. There's no way I could have his energy the way he does things.
And there's already a Tony Robbins, right?
Exactly. So people struggle with trying to fit into a mold, and they get very overwhelmed because they can't keep it up. So one of the things with communication is, just, finding your own voice, accepting your quirks, and, just being yourself and talk about subjects that you're passionate about and that about, and don't think too much. I mean, you should be able to come up with speaking topics within 5 minutes, things that you know about, that you're an expert on. If you're taking an hour or two to try to figure out a Periscope broadcast, that's not what you should be talking about. It should be stuff that you already know and love to speak about. The other thing that people struggle with communication, Tony, is sometimes people think more is better. For example, sales pages, speaking, talking, is that, it's quality words versus the quantity of words. So when people come to me and say they want to write a book and they're trying to write 30,000 words, I'm like, why? Whatever the message is, whether it's speaking or writing, Make sure that it's just quality. It doesn't mean it's better if you have more stuff in it. It depends on what the substance is.
Right.
So I would say, to keep it brief, I've got all types of things, but those would be a couple of big things that people struggle with in the communication area.
I think it's pretty common for people in any industry to have their heroes and to think, wow, I want to be that person. And what you don't realize and you find out at some point in your career is there's already one of those people. What people really need is what you have to offer, right? The world needs a Cynthia Bazin. The world needs a Tony Richards. The world needs what you have, not what you can copy somebody else. I think everybody gets to that point of revelation at some point.
Mm. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's about all I wanted to ask you today, but I got these rapid fire questions that I ask every guest that comes on the show. And so I want to run through these 12 questions with you real fast. That'd be okay?
Sounds like fun.
All right, here we go. Number one, best memory that immediately comes to mind for you.
Immediately comes to mind, I would say a recent FaceTime chat I had in which I had a great belly laugh. I love having conversations in which you can just be yourself and just have a good laugh with somebody. That's the most immediate thing that comes to mind.
Awesome. Number one hero in your life.
One hero. Oh, you know what? The word hero comes so many different things. Our military is number one heroes in life, but I would say number one hero in my life is my long-term mentor, my cross-country coach from high school. We still stay connected to this time, 30 years later. And we still have lunch together when I go back east.
That's amazing. People who are former athletes, I think, make great coaches. They also have big ties back to their former coaches, I think.
So awesome. He's known me as a 14-year-old and now as a 40-year-old. It's just crazy, that relationship. But that is so important to me. I just love that, having that relationship still.
What's the top value you subscribe to?
Integrity. Integrity is everything.
You bet. What's the most important person in your life?
God. Someone's looking over at me.
Yeah, thank goodness.
Definitely. In the end, who's looking over me?
What's your favorite thing?
Awesome conversation below the surface.
Awesome. And your favorite food?
I'm a health junkie. So right now, my big thing is roasted vegetables and olive oil. It's awesome.
Oh, cool. Most beautiful place you've been to?
Gosh, I've been a lot of great places. I'll say, because of my love of the beach, St. Martin.
If you could describe success in one word, what would it be?
This is easy. Impact. If you can make an impact, that's awesome.
Yeah, cool. How do you want to be remembered?
Today was my last day. I hope people think that I made them feel important.
And advice for a younger Cynthia?
Embrace your quirks earlier. We all try to fit in when we're younger, and you learn as an adult those quirks is your brilliance, actually. So, you know what? Embrace those things early.
That's so true. Stop trying to fit in, stand out, right?
Yes, absolutely.
What is your favorite sound?
The ocean, waves crashing.
You and my wife, man. She loves it, and we live so far from it,
So good.
And then finally, what's the best lesson you've learned?
It comes from my investigation background. Be your own investigator for your own health, for relationships, for business partners. You got to do it yourself. Take relationships slow. Do your due diligence.
Yeah, and I was going to say that as a follow-up. Is that where you really learned the diligent skill and honed that to a fine art, is through that investigation discipline?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, 22 years of seeing different people and all the struggles that they've been through and people being victims of different things. Yeah, absolutely. Is that, it's okay to ask a lot of questions. It's okay, to do background checks. It's really important because there's a lot of amazing people out there, but there's a lot of people trying to take shortcuts and, trying to go around the wrong path. So important for everybody to be their own investigator in their own life.
And you really probably have to really test your assumptions too, right?
Yes.
Can't just believe it.
So don't be paranoid. Trust, but verify, as I always say. Verify.
Tell everybody your website and how to get your stuff and promote yourself here a little as we close out.
I appreciate that. The best place to get in touch with me or just check me out is on my website at smartchic.me. So it's SmartChic.me. All of my social media icons are on each page. So if you want to come on to any of those, just check them out there. and would love to connect with you.
You know, I had Lorraine Kwai on a few weeks ago, and you two were like right at the top of my list of people to have on early on in the podcast. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to visit with me.
This was fantastic, Tony. I'm so glad that we did this, and thank you. I'm honored to be on here with you.
It's the smart chick, Cynthia Bazin, everybody. Give her a big round of applause. Cindy, thank you.
Receive weekly coaching tips from Tony Richards, delivered straight to your inbox. Whether you're a CEO or an entrepreneur, Tony can help you reach your goals and give you a competitive edge within your industry. Tony's Monday morning coaching memo covers topics ranging from leadership development to teamwork to company culture and more. Text the word leadership to 38470 to sign up for Tony's Monday morning coaching memo, or sign up online at clearvisiondevelopment.com.